My parents cut me off over my marriage. Now they want to meet their grandkids. My husband, 30M, and I have been happily married for 5 years, but our story started almost a decade ago in an unexpected place, the workplace. I started working as his assistant about 9 years ago. For almost 3 years, we kept things strictly professional, even though there was a clear attraction between us. Eventually, we gave in, but we did everything by the book. We went straight to HR, who reassigned me so there would be no conflict of interest. A year later, I got pregnant. We were already living together, deeply in love, and knew each other inside and out. So we made the logical decision to get married. We anticipated some judgment from colleagues, but I had to leave the company anyway due to issues with my new boss, so workplace drama wasn't our concern. The real problem is my parents. My parents, 62M and 57F, had always been overprotective. They wouldn't like the idea of me dating my boss, and I knew telling them everything all at once would be too much. So, when I told them about the wedding, we were honest, mostly. We told them our relationship was strictly professional until it wasn't. We told them we went to HR immediately, and that my husband never took advantage of me. We told them we were in love and ready to get married, but we didn't tell them about the pregnancy. At only 4 months along, I was able to hide the bump under my dress. I thought that dropping everything on them at once would be too much and wanted to ease them into it. At the wedding, my mom pulled me aside before the ceremony and asked me one last time if I was sure. I told her yes. She nodded and said nothing more. The ceremony was beautiful. Everything felt perfect. We moved to a different venue for the reception, and on the way, I noticed my parents never arrived. Confused, I called them. Ignored. My brother called them. They answered him. Their excuse? We're just tired. We're going home. I tried reaching out after the wedding. Blocked on everything, except email. I wrote them a long message explaining that I was an adult making an adult decision and that I hoped they could respect that. They never replied. For 5 years, I heard nothing. My husband and I aren't big on social media, but for our 5th anniversary, I made a rare post. I casually mentioned our 2 kids and that we had a third on the way. Within a month, my parents left me a voicemail. For the first time in 5 years, they reached out because they had no idea they had grandchildren. Suddenly, they wanted to meet them. I didn't respond, but more voicemails followed. They weren't asking about me. They weren't apologizing. They weren't acknowledging the 5 years of silence. They just wanted to see the kids. My gut instinct tells me 5 years is too long. They cut me off entirely. They weren't there for my wedding, pregnancy, births, first words, first steps, nothing. Now they suddenly care? It doesn't feel like they respect me or my marriage. It feels like they just want to play grandparent now that it's convenient. But part of me feels guilty. In my email years ago, I told them if they could learn to respect my choices, we could talk. I never set a time limit. So am I being hypocritical for ignoring them now? My brother thinks I am. He believes I should at least hear them out and see if they've changed, but I don't know if I want to. I have no idea how to move forward. If I respond, how do we rebuild from here? Update. After 5 years of silence, I finally agreed to talk to my parents. We set up a Zoom call. Just me, my husband, and them. Right away, they asked to see the kids. But I made it clear. You'll meet them when we trust that you'll be a positive part of their lives. They seemed to accept that. But then they said they wanted to read me a letter. One they claimed to have written on my wedding day. In the letter, they explained that they were uncomfortable with me marrying my former boss because they believed he had taken advantage of me. They said they left between the ceremony and the reception to avoid making a scene, wanted me to know that, despite their issues with him, they were still here for me. Except, they weren't. They admitted they never sent the letter because, the morning after the wedding, I had already emailed them saying they needed to respect my choices, and their shame kept them from reaching out. Seeing my anniversary post made them realize how much they had missed and how they didn't want to miss anything more. I asked them why they were so against me marrying my boss. Their response? It just wasn't what we had in mind for you. Not a real answer. Just vague disappointment. Then I asked, if you didn't support the marriage, why come to the wedding at all? My dad's response chilled me. I wanted to walk my daughter down the aisle. It was the only chance I'd get. Not, I wanted to be there for you. Not because I love you. Just a duty. And worse, the way he said it made it very clear he wasn't even thinking about me. He was thinking about my older sister who passed away. My husband caught it immediately. He told them, if you're talking about my wife, you should address her directly. And if you plan to leave after the ceremony, you should have told us. We wouldn't have invited you. Then he asked what had been bothering us for 5 years. How do you go no contact with your daughter for years, then only reach out when there are kids? That's when my father snapped and his true colors came out. Instead of responding to my husband's question, my dad looked at him and spat out a racial slur. I'm not going to take this from a cushy. For those who don't know, cushy is a derogatory term meaning dark-skinned. My mother panicked, immediately trying to run damage control, but I ended the call. Because in that 1 second everything made sense. It was never about my husband being my boss. It was about him not being white. Since the call, they've sent me multiple messages, desperately trying to explain their way out of it. They claim calling my husband a racial slur isn't indicative of a racist attitude and that my dad wouldn't have said that in front of the kids, so we should still let them meet their grandkids. As if that makes it better. I spent 5 years thinking my parents were so offended by my relationship that they cut me off. But the truth? They're just racist. And now the only real question left is, do I expose my mixed-race children to a couple of racists? And the answer is obviously no.